Before we begin, I'd like to thank a viewer by the name of Katie for suggesting making this video as a comment in my Last Supper film. I'll be honest, at first I wasn't sure whether or not such a video would be long enough to make surrounding the Shroud of Turin. However, after a little research, I believe I've made a compelling video comparing the Shroud against the evidence we have in the Urantia Book. So according to the Urantia Book, it was Jesus Christ Michael alone, and without any divine or celestial assistance, that transformed his once material body into a Urantia one. More specifically, Michael's firstborn son Gabriel made the following directive to those willing agents of Michael in 189.0.1, indicating he
laid down his life of his own free will. He also had power to take it up again in accordance with his own determination.
Fast forward a few passages, and we learn that an archangel then made the following request of Jesus' corpse.
We may not participate in the Urantia resurrection of the bestowal experience of Michael our sovereign, but we would have his mortal remains put in our custody for immediate dissolution. We do not propose to employ our technique of dematerialization. We merely wish to invoke the process of accelerated time. It is enough that we have seen the sovereign live and die on Urantia. The hosts of heaven would be spared the memory of enduring the sight of his slow decay of the human form of the creator and upholder of a universe. In the name of the celestial intelligence of all of Nebadon, I ask for a mandate giving me the custody of the material body of Jesus of Nazareth and empowering us to proceed with its immediate dissolution.
Found in 189.2.1. After Gabriel consulted with our Most High of Adentia, who is a Verandadek's son, permission was granted to do that very sequence of events. For clarity purposes, I'm going to restate one last time that Jesus' body was not, I repeat, was not resurrected. And Jesus simply transitioned to our next Urantia form we receive in the afterlife, found in 189.2.6. Fast forwarding once more, eventually, a party of 5 women made their way to Jesus' tomb to give Jesus proper rites and burial embalming lotions and bandages, headed by Mary Magdalene. However, after the women realized the entrance stone had been removed, Mary looked inward, and according to 189.4.6,
in the recess of stone where they had laid Jesus, Mary saw only the folded napkin where his head had rested, and the bandages wherewith he had been wrapped lying intact, and as they had rested on the stone before the celestial host removed the body. The covering sheet lay at the foot of the burial niche.
For the purposes of today's video, we will only be focusing on that covering sheet. The Shroud of Turin is a 14-foot linen cloth bearing the faint image of a man who appears to have suffered crucifixion wounds. For centuries, many Christians have believed it to be the burial shroud of Jesus Christ. The cloth is housed in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy, and has been the subject of intense religious veneration, scientific scrutiny, and historical debate. The earliest documented appearance of the shroud dates to the mid-14th century in Liry, France. A newly discovered medieval document analyzed in the Journal of Medieval History reveals that the respected theologian Nicole Orsmy discussed the shroud as a patent fake, accusing clergy of fabricating miracles to solicit offerings. In Nicole's defense, let's just say back then, fake relics were a common phenomenon in order to increase attendance and, of course, get certain dues from patrons. His critique predates the more famous denunciation by Bishop Pierre d'Arcis in 1389, who claimed the shroud was a painted forgery. These early criticisms were not isolated. The shroud was removed from public display for decades until Pope Clement VII allowed it to be shown again, under the condition that it was meant to be presented as a representation of the original burial cloth, not the genuine article. In 1988, 3 independent laboratories conducted radiocarbon dating tests on the shroud. These results placed it between AD 1260 and, of course, 1390, aligning with the period of its first documented appearance and suggesting a medieval forgery. For years, this seemed to settle the debate for many of its skeptics. However, the controversy reignited when critics questioned the validity of the samples used. Some argued that the tested portion may have been a medieval repair rather than part of an original cloth. Others pointed to the shroud's complex weave and the presence of pollen grains from the Middle East as evidence of its older origin. One of the most perplexing aspects of the shroud is the nature of the image itself. It is not painted, dyed, or burned into the cloth. Instead, it appears to be a superficial discoloration of the fibers, with no penetration into the threads. The image also contains 3D information, which allows for the creation of a three-dimensional rendering of the face and body. The Shroud of Turin research project team, which included forensic scientists and art historians, concluded that the image could not be explained by any known artistic technique, perhaps adding to its credibility. They found no evidence of pigments, dyes, or brush strokes. Yet they still could not determine how the image was formed. Art historian Thomas de Weslow, an agnostic, proposed a provocative theory. The image on the shroud was perceived by early followers of Jesus as a living presence, sparking the belief in resurrection. He argued that the image's anatomical accuracy, such as nail wounds to the wrists rather than the palms, suggests knowledge of Roman crucifixion practices, which were not commonly depicted in medieval art. As a matter of contention, it should be noted that in 187 2.1, that as for the crucifixion of Jesus, the Urantia Book indicates,
the soldiers first bound the master's arms with cords to the crossbeam, and they nailed his hands to the wood. When they had hoisted this crossbeam up on the post, and after they had nailed it securely to the upright timber of the cross, they bound and nailed his feet to the wood, using one long nail to penetrate both feet. The upright timber had a large peg inserted at the proper height, which served as a sort of saddle for supporting the body weight.
This art historian theory, while controversial, attempts to bridge the gap between faith and empirical observation. It suggests that the shroud may have played a psychological role in the formation of resurrection narratives, even if not miraculous in itself. The Urantia Book, published in 1955 by the Urantia Foundation, presents itself as a revelation authored by celestial beings. It offers a sweeping cosmology, a detailed life of Jesus, who's referred to as Michael of Nevanon, and metaphysical insights into spiritual evolution. While not affiliated with any mainstream religion, it has attracted a devoted following among many spiritual seekers. In paper 189, titled The Resurrection, the Urantia Book describes the resurrection of Jesus, not as a reanimation of a physical body, but as a spiritual event orchestrated by celestial beings. Like I indicated earlier, Jesus' body did not rise. It simply disintegrated due to the passage of accelerated time. However, the Urantia body of Jesus being seen materially by others required a little bit of assistance from other celestial agents. This concept of accelerated time is not explained in scientific terms, but is presented as a divine mechanism beyond human comprehension, since not all created beings are time and space limited, like we are. The idea that Jesus' body was dematerialized instantly, leaving only the burial garments behind, is quite a reality to digest. From the Urantian perspective, the Shroud of Turin could be interpreted as a relic of the burial garments left behind after the disintegration of Jesus' body. However, the Urantia Book does not explicitly endorse the shroud's authenticity. Instead, it emphasizes that the resurrection was a spiritual transformation, not a physical event. However, one clue that we can verify is that it appears as though one long spike was used in Jesus' feet, as is supported by the Urantia Book, although I must admit it's hard for me to determine whether the stain exhibits blood of the lower palm or the wrist. If you believe the blood is representative of the lower palm of Jesus, then again, this fits with the Urantia Book narrative as collaborating evidence. The Urantia body view challenges traditional Christian doctrines that emphasize bodily resurrection. It also sidesteps the need for physical evidence, focusing instead on the metaphysical reality of Jesus' continued existence in higher realms. The Urantia Book introduces the concept of the Urantia form, a transitional body between the material and spiritual realms. After death, souls are said to awaken in Urantia form on mansion worlds, where they continue their spiritual education. Jesus, being a divine son, bypassed this process and resumed his pre-incarnate status. The disintegration of the physical body was a symbolic act, demonstrating the impermanence of material existence and the supremacy of spiritual reality. The Shroud of Turin and the Urantia Book offer radically different lenses through which to view the resurrection. One is a physical artifact shrouded in mystery, pun intended. The other is a metaphysical narrative that transcends material constraints. Yet both invite contemplation of the same event, the transformation of Jesus from mortal to divine. For believers in the Shroud, the cloth is a tangible link to the divine. For Urantia readers, the resurrection is a cosmic event that defies physical explanation or evidence, for that matter. Plausible questions I would be asking in this resurrection scenario include: does the Urantialization, for lack of a better term, give off energy during Jesus' transformation? Or perhaps, as per the Archangel's request, the accelerated flow of time produced some sort of equal force necessary to create such an image? What limited information we have is when a human fuses with their thought adjuster, a burst of energy is released when they combust into chariots of fire, found in 110.7.2. However, only speculation remains when it comes to this rare semi-material transformation on our planet. The concept of accelerated time, as described in the Urantia Book, offers a speculative framework for understanding how a body could vanish without normal decay. While not scientifically validated, it resonates with quantum theorists that suggest time may behave differently in certain conditions. Could this be a metaphor for spiritual transcendence, or a literal mechanism employed by higher celestial beings? The Urantia Book leaves this door open to interpretation, emphasizing that divine actions often operate beyond human understanding. We learn in 34.2 that the spirit form is just as real as the Urantia body, being equally discernible. In 47.4.6, we learn that these Urantia bodies eat, drink, and rest, partaking in Urantia order of food, which is a living energy unknown to our world. Also, food and water are utilized in such a Urantia body. Yet there is no residual waste for you regular fiber users out there. In our first afterlife planet of assignment, the planet itself is a very material sphere, not being so different than our own. Lastly, we learn in 190.0.3 that our future Urantia body, like Jesus' form, does not have circulating blood. Consequently, could these shroud marks be some sort of otherworldly material, or energy trace for that matter? I'll leave that answer to your own individualistic interpretation. Whether or not the shroud is authentic, its power lies in its symbolism. It represents suffering, sacrifice, and the hope of resurrection. Similarly, the Urantia Book's narrative offers a symbolic journey from death to eternal life, framed within a cosmic drama. Both invite believers to look beyond the material, to seek truth in mystery, and meaning in faith. The Shroud of Turin remains one of the most enigmatic religious artifacts in history. Its image defies explanation, its origins are contested, and its meaning is deeply personal. For some, it is proof of divine intervention. For others, a medieval forgery. The Urantia Book, meanwhile, offers a cosmic reinterpretation of Jesus' resurrection, one that transcends physicality and embraces spiritual evolution. Its concept of accelerated time and body disintegration challenges conventional theology and invites readers into a broader metaphysical framework. Thank you again for watching today's video, your continued support, and I'll see you on the next one.